The coffee shop smelled like burnt espresso and broken dreams, a scent Thandi knew all too well. Her fingers trembled as she counted the crumpled bills in her apron pocket for the third time that morning. $42. Not enough for the overdue electricity bill waiting on her kitchen counter. Not enough for her daughter's field trip permission slip that required a $20 deposit. And definitely not enough to fix the check engine light that had been glaring at her from the dashboard for 2 weeks. She glanced at the clock. 6:15 a.m. 15 minutes before opening, and she was already exhausted. The bell above the door chimed. Odd, since she hadn't unlocked it yet. Thandi looked up, ready to politely redirect the early customer, but the words died in her throat. The man who entered moved like darkness itself had taken human form. Expensive black suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Hair styled with casual perfection, eyes that could cut through steel. And he was staring directly at her. "We're not open yet," Thandi managed, her voice steadier than she felt. He said nothing. Just continued walking toward the counter, his presence filling the small cafe like a storm rolling in. Something told Thandi her ordinary morning was about to become anything but. Thandi had learned to read people in her 28 years of life, a survival skill honed through necessity. The businessman who'd leave a generous tip if you remembered his order, the college student who'd try to linger past closing time, the manager who'd dock your pay for being 2 minutes late. But the man standing before her counter, he was a language she'd never learned to speak. "I said we're not," she began again. "I heard you." His voice was low, accented, the kind that suggested English was a second language he'd mastered, with the same precision he seemed to apply to everything else. "I'll wait." He settled into a corner booth as if he owned it, as if he owned the entire building. Maybe he did. Thandi wouldn't be surprised. She'd worked at the daily grind for 3 years, and had never seen Helen Wu, the owner, defer to anyone. But something about this man suggested people deferred to him. Thandi forced herself to focus on opening procedures, cash register, coffee machines, pastry display, normal tasks, normal morning. She absolutely would not keep glancing at the stranger who sat with the stillness of a predator. She failed spectacularly. At precisely 6:30, she flipped the sign to "Open." He rose immediately, approaching the counter with measured steps. "What can I get you?" Thandi asked, pen poised over her order pad, the old-fashioned kind Helen refused to replace with tablets. "Black coffee, nothing else." Of course, no cream, no sugar, no unnecessary softness. She should have guessed. Size? Large. Thandi rang it up. $4.50. He reached for his wallet, and that's when everything went sideways. The man's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and something shifted in his expression. A crack in the perfect facade. His jaw tightened. His eyes went cold in a way that made Thandi's survival instincts scream. "I need to take this," he said, already stepping away from the counter, phone pressed to his ear. He spoke in rapid Korean, his voice dropping to a dangerous register that Thandi felt rather than heard. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Threat. Authority. The kind of power that made grown men afraid. She poured his coffee, hands steady through sheer force of will. 3 years of slinging drinks had taught her to keep moving, keep working, no matter what chaos erupted around her. When he returned to the counter 2 minutes later, his expression had smoothed back into that impenetrable mask. He reached for his wallet again, and froze. Thandi watched understanding dawn across his features, the kind of realization that would be almost comical if the man didn't look like he could dismantle someone with his bare hands. "I don't have my wallet." The words hung in the air between them. Thandi glanced at the coffee, at the man, at the growing line of actual morning customers beginning to form behind him. She should ask him to step aside. Should politely but firmly request he return with payment. Should absolutely not do what her idiot brain was suddenly suggesting. "It's fine," she heard herself say. "On the house." His eyes snapped to hers. "Excuse me?" "The coffee. It's fine. You can pay next time." The lie rolled off her tongue with practiced ease. There wouldn't be a next time. Men like him didn't return to places like this, and they certainly didn't remember small kindnesses from women like her. "I don't accept charity." The ice in his voice would have made a lesser person back down. Thandi had been working minimum wage jobs since she was 16. She'd faced down angry drunks, entitled customers, and bosses who thought they could intimidate her into accepting less than she deserved. This man, for all his obvious danger, didn't scare her. Much. "It's not charity," she said evenly. "It's $4.50. I'm guessing you've spent more than that on dry cleaning this week." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or the ghost of amusement. You have no idea who I am. You're right, I don't. You're just a guy who needs coffee. She slid the cup across the counter. Have a good day. For a long moment he simply stared at her. Thandie held his gaze, refusing to look away first, even though every instinct told her she was poking something dangerous. Then he picked up the coffee. Your name, he said. Not a question. A demand. Why? So I know who to repay. Thandie gestured to her name tag, the plastic rectangle pinned slightly crooked on her burgundy polo. It's right there. But seriously, don't worry about it. He leaned closer, not threateningly, but close enough that she caught a hint of his cologne. Expensive. Everything about him screamed expensive. I always repay my debts, Thandie. The way he said her name, with that slight accent curling around the syllables, did something strange to her pulse. Always. Then he was gone, the bell chiming his exit, leaving Thandie standing behind the counter with an inexplicable feeling that her life had just shifted on its axis. Girl, who was that? Layla materialized at her elbow, eyes wide. Her best friend and co-worker had impeccable timing for drama and terrible timing for actual work. No idea. No idea. Thandie, that man looked like he stepped out of a Korean drama. The dangerous kind. The kind where the male lead is secretly a, "Can you help me with the morning rush?" Thandie cut her off, nodding toward the line that had formed. We can dissect my love life later. You don't have a love life. That's the problem. Layla, fine. But her friend's knowing smile suggested this conversation was far from over. The morning passed in the usual blur of orders and small talk. Thandie slipped into the familiar rhythm, letting muscle memory guide her through drink after drink. She didn't think about the stranger. Much. Okay, she thought about him constantly. Something about those eyes, that voice, the way he'd looked at her like she was a puzzle he intended to solve. At 2 p.m., during the post-lunch lull, Thandie was wiping down tables when Layla grabbed her arm. Thandie, your mystery man is back." "What?" But sure enough, there he was, walking through the door in a different suit, charcoal grey this time, flanked by another man who looked like he could bench press a car. The stranger approached the counter. Thandie met him there, pulse inexplicably racing. "I came to repay my debt," he said, placing a black credit card on the counter. $4.50, I believe. "You didn't have to come back for that. I told you. I always repay my debts." He paused. "I'd like to order another coffee." "Large, black." Thandie rang it up, swiped his card. The name on it read An Junseo. She filed that information away. As she prepared his drink, she felt his gaze on her. Steady, assessing. "You work here every day?" he asked. "Most days." "Why?" "Curiosity." She handed him the coffee. "Well, mystery solved. Thanks for coming back, Mr. An." He smiled then. A small thing, barely there, but it transformed his entire face. Made him look almost human instead of carved from marble. "Just Junseo," he said, "and I'll be seeing you again, Thandie." It wasn't a question, it was a promise. After he left, Layla appeared at her shoulder. "Okay, so we're definitely talking about this later, right?" "There's nothing to talk about." "Girl, that man just drove across town to pay you back $4.50, and look at you with those eyes. There's everything to talk about." Thandie wanted to argue, wanted to insist Layla was reading too much into a simple transaction. But when she got home that night to her tiny apartment, when she tucked her 8-year-old daughter into bed and counted her meager tips, she found herself thinking about Junseo's parting words. "I'll be seeing you again." And the terrifying part? She wanted him to. Junseo returned the next morning, and the morning after that, and every morning for the next week. Always at 6:30, right when Thandie opened. Always ordering the same thing, large black coffee. Always staying for exactly 15 minutes. Sitting in that corner booth, watching her work with those unreadable eyes. "This is getting weird, right?" Layla whispered on Thursday morning, watching Junseo settle into his usual spot. "Like, should we be concerned?" "He's just a regular customer," Thandie said, not quite believing it herself. "Regular customers don't look at you like you're the only person in the room. Regular customers don't have bodyguards waiting outside. Regular customers don't—" "Layla, please." But her friend had a point. There was nothing regular about An Junseo. On Friday, everything changed. Thandie was restocking pastries when Helen Wu emerged from her office, her normally composed face tight with stress. "Thandie, can I see you for a moment?" Her stomach dropped. Those 6 words had preceded every job loss, every financial disaster, every piece of bad news in her adult life. In Helen's cramped office, the older woman sat heavily in her chair. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to stay calm." "Okay," Thandie said slowly. The shop is being sold. The world tilted. What? I didn't have a choice. There's been pressure from certain parties who've made it clear that refusing would be bad for business. Bad for me. Helen's hands trembled as she folded them on her desk. The new owner takes possession on Monday. Who's buying it? I can't say. But I've been assured that all current employees will keep their positions. You're not losing your job, Thandie. It should have been reassuring. It wasn't. How long have you known? 2 weeks. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I was trying to find another option, but Helen trailed off, looking older than Thandie had ever seen her. When Thandie returned to the counter, Junseo was waiting, coffee in hand, eyes tracking her every movement. Everything all right? He asked. The concern in his voice surprised her. Why do you care? You look upset. She shouldn't confide in him. Shouldn't unload her problems on a customer, no matter how regular. But stress and exhaustion made her reckless. The coffee shop is being sold. My boss won't tell me who's buying it, which means it's probably some corporation that'll gut the place and turn it into another soulless franchise. She laughed bitterly. But hey, at least I still have a job, right? Junseo's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. You're afraid. I'm always afraid, she admitted, before she could stop herself. Fear is part of the job description when you're living paycheck to paycheck. It shouldn't be. Yeah, well, tell that to reality. He set down his coffee. Have dinner with me. Thandie blinked. What? Dinner. Tonight. Why would I have dinner with you? Because you need to eat, and I suspect you usually don't. Because you're stressed and a good meal might help. Because I'm asking. I have a daughter, she blurted out, then immediately regretted it. Why had she told him that? How old? 8? What's her name? Why do you want to know? Junseo leaned against the counter, and for the first time since she'd met him, his expression softened into something almost gentle. Because you're important to her, which makes her important to me. The words hung between them, loaded with implications Thandie wasn't ready to examine. Her name is Zoe, she heard herself say. Bring her. There's a Korean restaurant 3 blocks from here. Quiet, private, excellent food. 7 o'clock. I can't accept. You paid for my coffee when I had nothing. Let me return the favor properly. He straightened. It's just dinner, Thandie, not a marriage proposal. Something about the way he said it, dry, almost amused, made her lips twitch despite herself. Fine, dinner, 7 o'clock, but I'm paying for myself. We'll see about that. That evening, Thandie stood outside Hanabi's kitchen with Zoe's small hand in hers, second-guessing everything. This was insane. She barely knew this man. He was clearly wealthy, clearly dangerous in ways she couldn't quantify, and clearly interested in her for reasons she didn't understand. Mommy, is that the restaurant? Zoe asked, tugging her hand. Yeah, baby. Listen, if anything feels wrong in there, if you're uncomfortable at all... Thandie. She turned. Junseo stood a few feet away, having appeared with that unnerving silence he seemed to cultivate, but his attention wasn't on her. He was looking at Zoe. He crouched down, bringing himself to eye level with her daughter. You must be Zoe. I'm Junseo. Your mother told me about you. Zoe, usually shy around strangers, studied him with surprising boldness. You're the coffee man. His lips quirked. I suppose I am. Mommy says you come to her work every day. That's true. Why? Zoe, Thandie warned, but Junseo held up a hand. It's a fair question. He met Zoe's eyes. I come because your mother makes the best coffee I've ever had, and because she was kind to me when she didn't have to be. Zoe seemed to consider this. Okay. Can we eat now? I'm hungry. Just like that, the tension broke. Inside the restaurant, Thandie understood what Junseo had meant by private. They were led to a secluded section, screened off from the main dining area. The table could easily seat 8, but place settings had been arranged for 3. You reserved this entire section? Thandie asked as they sat. I value privacy. This must have cost... Don't. His tone was gentle but firm. Let me do this. The food arrived in waves. Banchan, bulgogi, japchae dishes Thandie had never tried, but Zoe attacked with surprising enthusiasm. Junseo ordered in Korean, his voice taking on different cadences in his native language. You speak Korean, Zoe exclaimed. It's my first language, Junseo said. English is my second. Can you teach me a word? He thought for a moment. Gomab sumnida. Gomap seumnida. It means thank you. Zoe repeated it carefully, her pronunciation surprisingly good. Junseo's expression softened in a way Thandie hadn't seen before. As the meal progressed, Thandie watched something unexpected unfold. Junseo, this intimidating stranger who looked like he'd never smiled a day in his life, was patient with Zoe's endless questions. He showed her how to use chopsticks properly. He explained what each dish was, telling stories about Korean culture that had her daughter hanging on every word. And when Zoe accidentally spilled her water, he simply signaled for staff to clean it up, never making her feel embarrassed. "He's nice, Mummy," Zoe whispered when Junseo stepped away to take a phone call. Nice wasn't the word Thandi would use, but watching him with her daughter had shifted something in her perception. When he returned, his expression had shuttered back into that familiar mask. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly, once Zoe was distracted with dessert. Thandi's stomach clenched. "Okay. The coffee shop, the new owner." He met her eyes. "It's me." The world stopped. "What?" "I bought the Daily Grind. The sale finalizes Monday." Thandi stood so abruptly, her chair scraped against the floor. "You? This whole time?" "Thandi, were you just playing with me? Is this some kind of game for you?" Zoe looked up, alarmed by her mother's tone. Junseo noticed immediately. "Not here," he said quietly. "Your daughter doesn't need to see this." He was right, damn him. Thandi forced herself to sit, to smile reassuringly at Zoe, to pretend her world wasn't imploding. They finished the meal in tense silence. When Junseo's driver pulled up outside, Thandi declined his offer of a ride home with barely controlled fury, but as she turned to leave, he caught her wrist, gentle, not restraining. "Monday morning, before the shop opens. Come early. Let me explain." "Why should I?" "Because you deserve the truth." His eyes held hers. "And because I think you know I'm not playing games with you." Thandi pulled her wrist free, took Zoe's hand and walked away. But Monday morning found her at the Daily Grind at 5:30 a.m., unlocking the door to find Junseo already inside, waiting in the darkness like a promise she wasn't sure she wanted him to keep. The coffee shop felt different in the pre-dawn darkness, with Junseo standing in it like he owned the place, which, Thandi reminded herself bitterly, he did now. "So you came," he said. "You said you'd explain." "I will, but first coffee. I suspect we'll both need it." The audacity of him making himself at home behind her counter. No, his counter now. Thandi watched him move through the space with surprising familiarity, pulling espresso shots with the competence of someone who'd actually paid attention during her morning routine. He handed her a cup. Perfect temperature. Perfect crema. "Of course." "Talk," she said. Junseo leaned against the counter, cradling his own cup. "I run a business. Multiple businesses, actually. Some legitimate, some—" He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "Less conventional. You're a criminal." "I prefer entrepreneur with flexible ethics." The corner of his mouth twitched. "But yes, Thandi, I'm what you might call a criminal, though I'd argue the classification is more nuanced than that." She should be afraid. Should run. Should absolutely not be standing here calmly drinking coffee with a man who'd just admitted to being exactly what she'd suspected. Why the coffee shop? "I was looking for a legitimate business to acquire. Something clean, something stable." Helen Wu was vulnerable. She'd taken a loan from the wrong people, people who would have ruined her if she didn't comply with their demands. I made them a better offer. She got out of her debt. I got the property. How noble of you. "I never claim nobility." He set down his cup. "But I want you to understand something. I bought this place before I met you. The deal was in motion weeks before I walked through that door without my wallet. Convenient timing. Coincidence. But I'll admit, once I met you, my interest in this particular acquisition intensified." Thandi's heart hammered. "Why?" "Because you gave me coffee when I couldn't pay. Because you didn't know who I was and didn't care. Because you looked at me like I was just a person, not a name or a reputation." He moved closer. "Do you know how rare that is in my world? I'm not interested in being some novelty for you, some normal girl fantasy to spice up your criminal empire. That's not what you are. Then what am I?" The question hung between them, charged with something Thandi wasn't ready to name. "I don't know yet," Junseo admitted. "But I intend to find out." Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. Zoe's school. Her stomach dropped. They only called this early for emergencies. "Hello? Miss Thandi, this is Principal Morrison. I'm calling because Zoe's emergency contact information has you listed as working at the Daily Grind, and we need you to come pick her up. She's running a fever. I'll be right there." Thandi grabbed her purse, mind already racing through logistics. She'd have to call Layla to cover her shift, find money for a doctor's visit they couldn't afford, pray it wasn't serious. "I'll drive you," Junseo said. "What? No, I can—" "Your car's check engine light has been on for weeks. I've seen you park. The engine sounds like it's dying. My car is right outside." He was already moving toward the door. "We're wasting time arguing." He was right. Thandi hated that he was right. The drive to Zoe's school took 12 minutes in Jun Seo's sleek black sedan. His driver, Jin Young-ho, navigated traffic with military precision while Jun Seo sat beside her in the back seat, giving her space but remaining quietly present. "She's going to be fine," he said softly. "You don't know that." "You're right, but panicking won't help her." Thandi wanted to snap at him, but the steady calm in his voice actually helped. She focused on breathing, on not imagining worst-case scenarios. At the school, Zoe was curled up in the nurse's office, looking small and miserable. Her face lit up when she saw Thandi. Then confusion crossed her features when Jun Seo appeared in the doorway behind her mother. "Mr. Jun Seo?" "Hello, Zoe." He stayed back, letting Thandi go to her daughter first. "I heard you're not feeling well." "My tummy hurts." The nurse explained it was likely a stomach bug going around. Nothing serious, but Zoe needed to go home and rest. "I can call you a car," the nurse offered. "I know you usually take the bus." "I have a ride," Thandi said, hating the necessity but grateful for it. In the car, Zoe fell asleep against Thandi's shoulder. Jun Seo made a quick call in Korean, his voice low and commanding. When he hung up, he turned to her. "My personal physician will meet us at your apartment in 20 minutes. "I can't afford a personal. It's already arranged. He owes me a favor." "Why are you doing this?" Jun Seo looked at Zoe's sleeping face, and something in his expression shifted, softened in a way that made Thandi's chest ache. "Because she's 8 years old and sick. Because her mother is terrified. Because I can help." He met Thandi's eyes. "And because I'm beginning to realize I'd do just about anything to keep either of you from suffering if I can prevent it." The truth in those words terrified her more than any admission of criminality. Dr. Kim was waiting outside her apartment building when they arrived, a kind-faced man in his 50s who examined Zoe with gentle efficiency and confirmed the nurse's diagnosis. Stomach bug, rest and fluids should pass in 48 hours. "Thank you," Thandi told him. "How much do I—" "Already handled," Dr. Kim said, glancing at Jun Seo with something that looked like respect and fear in equal measure. After the doctor left, Thandi got Zoe settled on the couch with her favorite blanket. When she returned to the small kitchen, Jun Seo was still there, looking completely out of place in her cramped apartment with its second-hand furniture and peeling linoleum. "You can go," she said. "I've got it from here. When was the last time you ate?" "I'm fine." He moved to her refrigerator, opened it, and stared at the mostly empty shelves. His jaw tightened. "Thandi, don't," she warned. "Don't you dare pity me." "It's not pity." He closed the refrigerator with careful control. "It's rage that someone like you has to choose between feeding your daughter and paying your electric bill. It's frustration that the world is so fundamentally broken that good people suffer while monsters like me prosper." "You're not a monster." The words surprised them both. Jun Seo crossed the small kitchen in 2 strides, stopping just short of touching her. "You don't know what I've done." "No, I don't. And maybe I don't want to." Thandi met his eyes. "But I know you came back to pay for a $4 coffee. I know you were patient with my daughter. I know you didn't have to help today, but you did. So whatever else you are, you're not just a monster." He lifted his hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he cupped her cheek with surprising gentleness. "You see things in me I'm not sure exist. Or maybe I see things you've forgotten were there." The air between them crackled with tension. Jun Seo's thumb traced her cheekbone with devastating softness. "I should go," he said, but didn't move. "Yeah," Thandi breathed. "You should." Neither of them moved. Then Zoe called out weakly from the living room, and the spell broke. Jun Seo stepped back, and Thandi felt the loss of his warmth like a physical ache. "I'll have groceries delivered," he said. "Don't argue. You need to eat." Jun Seo, "And your car will be fixed tomorrow. Jin Young-ho will handle it." "I can't accept—" "You can, you will." He moved toward the door, then paused. "I'm not doing this to control you, Thandi. I'm doing it because I can, and because letting you struggle when I have the means to help would be unconscionable." After he left, Thandi sank into a kitchen chair, head in her hands. Layla was right. This was definitely something to talk about. 2 hours later, groceries arrived, enough to fill her refrigerator and pantry 3 times over. And when she checked her bank account that evening, there was an extra week's salary deposited with a note. "Sick days you've earned, but Helen never paid. J." Thandi stared at the screen, emotions warring inside her. She should be angry, should feel manipulated, should resent his interference in her life. Instead, for the first time in 8 years, she felt the terrifying, dangerous sensation of being cared for, and she had no idea what to do with that. Monday morning, Thandi returned to work to find everything changed, and nothing changed. Same coffee shop, same menu, same co-workers. But Junseo's presence permeated every corner of the space now. New espresso machine, top of the line. Updated POS system, fresh paint in the bathroom. Small improvements that added up to significant investment. "Girl, what did you do to that man?" Layla whispered during the morning rush. "Helen's walking around here like she won the lottery, and rumor has it our new owner tripled her buyout price. I didn't do anything. Your mystery Korean drama lead bought an entire coffee shop. That's not nothing." Thandi didn't have an answer for that. Junseo arrived at 6:30 as always, but this time he didn't sit in the corner booth. He came straight to the counter. "We need to talk, tonight, my office. I have Zoe. Bring her. I've had a room prepared with activities. She'll be safe and occupied. You can't just— 8 p.m. Jin Young-ho will pick you up." He leaned closer, voice dropping. "Please, Thandi, it's important." The please convinced her more than any command would have. That evening, Jin Young-ho arrived in the same sleek sedan. Zoe, fully recovered from her stomach bug, chatted excitedly about the nice car and cool driver man. They drove to a building downtown, glass and steel, the kind of place Thandi had only seen from the outside. The private elevator required a key card. The penthouse office took up the entire top floor. True to his word, Junseo had prepared a room adjacent to his office with art supplies, books, and even a tablet loaded with educational games. Zoe's eyes went wide. "Is this for me?" "For tonight," Junseo said. "Be good for your mother." Once Zoe was settled, he led Thandi into his office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Minimalist furniture. A desk that probably cost more than her car. "Sit," he said, gesturing to a leather couch. Thandi remained standing. "What's this about?" Junseo poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a crystal decanter, handed her one. She took it, but didn't drink. "There's a situation," he began. "One that may involve you whether you want it to or not." Ice flooded her veins. "What kind of situation?" "I have enemies. Men who would hurt me by targeting people I care about." His eyes locked on hers. "You've been seen with me. Multiple times. In my world, that makes you a target." The glass trembled in Thandi's hand. "So what? This was all a mistake. You're cutting me off for my own safety." "No." He moved closer. "I'm offering you protection. Full security. Jin Young-ho will drive you to and from work. I'm installing a security system in your apartment. Armed guards will be positioned—" "Absolutely not." Thandi set down the glass with force. "You don't get to upend my entire life because you're paranoid. It's not paranoia when people actually want to kill you. Then stop seeing me. Problem solved." "I can't." The words came out raw, stripped of his usual control. "I've tried, Thandi. I've tried to stay away, to keep my distance, to convince myself you're just another person. But you're not. And I can't let anything happen to you or Zoe because of my selfishness. This is insane. We barely know each other. We've had, what, a handful of conversations? Shared one dinner? And yet I think about you constantly." He crossed the distance between them. "I think about your smile when a customer leaves a good tip, the way you bite your lip when you're concentrating, how you pulled your daughter close at the school like you could shield her from the entire world with your body alone." His voice dropped. "I think about what it would feel like to have the right to protect you, to take care of you, to be someone you could depend on instead of someone you have to survive." Thandi's breath caught. "Junseo, there's more you need to know." He stepped back, running a hand through his hair, the first time she'd seen him truly agitated. "The man who was pressuring Helen, his name is Yu Dae-won. He's a problem in my organization, ambitious, reckless. When I bought the coffee shop out from under him, I made him look weak." "What does that mean?" "It means he's looking for ways to strike back, and the easiest way to hurt me is through you." The room spun. "I need to sit down." Junseo guided her to the couch, sat beside her, not touching but close enough that she could feel his warmth. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I never meant for any of this to touch you." "Why me?" Thandi looked at him, this beautiful, dangerous man who'd somehow become important to her in the space of 2 weeks. "Why did you keep coming back? Why risk all this for someone like me?" "Someone like you?" His laugh was bitter. "Thandi, you're the first real thing I've encountered in 10 years. Everyone in my world wants something. Power, money, status, protection. But you just wanted to be kind. You saw a stranger without a wallet and bought him coffee because it was the right thing to do." He turned to face her fully. "Do you have any idea how extraordinary that is? It was $4. It was everything." Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. Junseo's expression went cold as he read the message. "What?" Thandi asked. He showed her the screen. a photo of her and Zoe leaving their apartment that morning. The message below read, "Cute kid. Would be a shame if something happened to her." Terror crystallized in Thandi's chest. Oh my God. Junseo was already on his feet, making calls in rapid Korean. Within seconds, Jin Young-ho appeared at the door. "Get them to the safe house," Junseo ordered. "Now." "What? No." Thandi stood. "You can't just—" "They threatened your daughter." His eyes blazed with fury so intense she actually stepped back. "They threatened Zoe. So yes, Thandi, I absolutely can and will move you somewhere they can't reach you. For how long? As long as it takes to eliminate the threat." The words hung in the air, loaded with violent promise. "You're going to kill him," Thandi whispered. "This Day Won. You're going to kill him." Junseo didn't deny it. "I'm going to protect what's mine. I'm not yours." He moved so fast she barely saw him coming, one hand cradling her face with devastating gentleness that contrasted sharply with the lethal promise in his eyes. "Yes, you are. Maybe you haven't accepted it yet. Maybe I'm moving too fast, claiming too much. But that little girl in the next room deserves to sleep safely at night, and you deserve a life where you're not constantly afraid." His thumb brushed her cheek. "So I'm going to handle this, and you're going to let me, because the alternative is something I absolutely cannot accept." Thandi should argue, should push him away, should grab Zoe and run from this entire impossible situation. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I know, but I've got you. Both of you. I promise." The door to the adjacent room opened. Zoe stood there sleepy-eyed and confused. "Mommy, are we going home soon?" Junseo crouched down to Zoe's level, his entire demeanor shifting to gentle reassurance. "How would you like to go on an adventure?" he asked. "A special house in the mountains, just for a little while. Like a vacation." "Exactly like that." Zoe looked at her mother. Thandi forced a smile, pushed down the terror, became the strong mother her daughter needed. "Sounds fun, baby. Go grab your stuff." After Zoe skipped back into the room, Thandi turned to Junseo. "If anything happens to her because of this, it won't. I swear on everything I am, Thandi. I will die before I let anyone hurt either of you." "The terrifying part?" She believed him. An hour later, Thandi and Zoe were in the back of a different car with Jin Young-ho at the wheel, driving toward mountains she couldn't see in the darkness. Junseo remained in the city to handle the situation. As lights faded in the rearview mirror, Thandi pulled Zoe close and prayed to a god she hadn't talked to in years that she hadn't just made the worst mistake of her life. The safe house wasn't a house. It was a compound. Nestled in the mountains 2 hours outside the city, surrounded by pine trees and silence, security cameras everywhere, guards patrolling the perimeter, luxury that felt like a cage. Zoe thought it was amazing. Thandi felt like she was losing her mind. 3 days passed with no word from Junseo. Jin Young-ho assured her everything was proceeding as planned, but refused to give details. Thandi spent hours staring at her phone, waiting for news that never came. On the 4th day, Layla appeared at the door. "Oh, thank God." Thandi pulled her friend into a hug. "How did you—" "Your terrifying Korean boyfriend sent a car for me. Said you needed a friendly face." Layla pulled back, studying her. "Girl, what have you gotten yourself into?" Over coffee that someone had stocked the pristine kitchen with, Thandi told her everything. The threats, the danger, Junseo's world of shadows and violence. "So what are you going to do?" Layla asked when she finished. "I don't know. Run, maybe. Take Zoe somewhere he can't find us. Start over. Do you want to?" The question stopped her cold. "I should want to," Thandi said slowly. "Everything about this is wrong. Dangerous. Complicated. I should grab my daughter and get as far from Junseo as humanly possible. But when he looks at me, I feel seen. For the first time in my life, someone sees me. Not the struggling single mother, not the waitress, not the woman who's just trying to survive. He sees me." Her voice cracked. "And God help me, I think I'm falling in love with him." Layla reached across the table, squeezed her hand. "Then maybe running isn't the answer." That evening, Jin Young-ho found Thandi on the deck overlooking the valley. "He's coming," the normally stoic man said. "He asked me to tell you it's over. You're safe now." Day 1. Handled. Jin Young-ho's expression revealed nothing, but Thandi understood. Some questions were better left unasked. Junseo arrived just after sunset, looking like he'd aged a decade in 4 days. Exhaustion etched deep lines around his eyes. His shirt was wrinkled, the first time she'd ever seen him anything less than perfectly composed. He stopped in the doorway when he saw her, something raw and desperate crossing his features. Thandy. She crossed to him, and he pulled her into his arms with a fierceness that stole her breath. He was shaking, she realized. This powerful, dangerous man was trembling as he held her. I thought I'd lose you, he whispered against her hair. When Day One made his move, when things got complicated, I thought I'd have to let you go to keep you safe. But you didn't. I couldn't. He pulled back just enough to cup her face. I've done terrible things, Thandy. Things I can never take back. Things that would horrify you if you knew the details. But everything I did this week, I did to build a world where you and Zoe could be safe, where you could exist without fear. What did you do? I restructured my entire organization. Eliminated threats, made examples that will keep people away from you for years to come. His eyes searched hers. I built you a fortress, Thandy, but I can't force you to live in it. Is that what you want? To keep me locked away in safe houses? No. I want you free. I want you happy. I want you to look at me without fear. Then you need to understand something. Thandy took his hands in hers. I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of losing myself in you. I'm afraid of depending on someone who could disappear. I'm afraid of loving you and having you decide I'm not worth the complication. That will never happen. You can't promise that. Watch me. He dropped to one knee, and Thandy's heart stopped. I'm not asking you to marry me, not yet. I know it's too fast, too insane, but I'm asking you to let me prove myself. Let me show you that I'm not going anywhere, that I'll fight for you every single day, that I'll be the man you and Zoe deserve. Jun Seo, I'm asking you to trust me with your heart, Thandy. I know I haven't earned it yet, but I will. I swear to God, I will. Tears streamed down her face. Get up. He rose slowly, uncertainty flickering across his features. Thandy kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It was messy and desperate and full of all the fear and hope and impossible feelings she'd been trying to suppress for weeks. He kissed her back like she was oxygen and he was drowning, one hand tangling in her hair, the other pulling her impossibly closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Thandy pressed her forehead to his. I'm terrified, she admitted. Me too. This is insane. Completely. We barely know each other. Then let's change that. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. I want to know everything, Thandy. Your favorite color, your worst fear, your biggest dream. I want to know what makes you laugh and what makes you cry. I want to learn how you take your coffee, which for the record I still don't actually know. She laughed through her tears. Caramel latte with extra foam. See? Progress already. A sound from the doorway made them both turn. Zoe stood there in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Mr. Junseo. She ran to him, and he caught her easily, lifting her up. Hello, Zoe. Did we wake you? Are you and Mommy kissing? Does that mean you're her boyfriend now? Junseo looked at Thandy, question in his eyes. She nodded, still overwhelmed but strangely certain. If your mom will have me, then yes. I'd very much like to be her boyfriend. Good, Zoe declared, because you make her smile. She doesn't smile enough. Something in Junseo's expression cracked open. He looked at this 8-year-old girl in his arms like she'd just handed him something precious and fragile. Then I'll make it my mission to make her smile every day, he said solemnly. Promise? I promise. Later, after Zoe was back in bed, Thandy and Junseo sat on the deck under stars that seemed impossibly bright this far from the city. What happens now? She asked. Now? I take you both home. I install the best security system money can buy. I hire a driver for you so you never have to worry about that dying car again. I pay off your debts so you can stop living paycheck to paycheck. Junseo, and before you argue, understand that I'm not doing this to control you. I'm doing it because I can. Because watching you struggle when I have resources sitting unused is torture. He took her hand. You can keep working at the coffee shop if you want. You can quit and go back to school. You can do literally anything. But you'll do it without the constant weight of financial terror hanging over you. That's too much. It's not nearly enough. He turned to face her fully. I'm wealthy beyond any reasonable measure, Thandy. Money I've made from businesses both legal and illegal, and all of it means nothing if I can't use it to make your life easier. I need to contribute. I need to feel like I'm not just a kept woman. His smile was wry. Then contribute. But contribute from a place of choice, not desperation. Work because you want to, not because you'll be homeless if you don't. It was too much. Too fast. Too everything. And yet, looking at this man who'd somehow become essential to her in a matter of weeks, Thandy felt something she hadn't experienced in 8 years. Hope. Okay, she said. Okay? Okay. I'll let you help. I'll let you prove yourself. I'll let you into our lives. She squeezed his hand. But Junseo, if you hurt my daughter, I won't. I'll protect her like she's my own. I'll be the father figure she deserves. His voice roughened. I'll be the man you both deserve, or I'll die trying. That's dramatic. I'm a dramatic person. She laughed and he pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her as the mountain breeze whispered through the pines. I love you, he said quietly. I know it's too soon. I know I'm supposed to wait. But I've waited my entire life to feel like this, and I'm not wasting another second pretending I don't. Thandi's breath caught. Junseo, you don't have to say it back. Not until you're ready. I just needed you to know. She turned in his arms, studied his face in the starlight. This beautiful, broken, dangerous man who'd bought her coffee shop and restructured his criminal empire and learned her daughter's favorite color in the span of 4 days. Ask me in a month, she said. After you've seen me at my worst. After Zoe's had a tantrum and I've yelled and we've had a real fight about something stupid. Ask me when this isn't new and shiny anymore. And if I still love you then I'll probably love you back. His smile could have lit the entire mountain. I'll take those odds. 3 weeks later, Thandi stood in the renovated Daily Grind, now renamed the Daily Grind and Soul, with a menu that blended American coffee culture with Korean cafe traditions. Layla had been promoted to assistant manager. The staff had received raises across the board, and every morning at 6:30, Junseo walked through the door. Sometimes for coffee, sometimes just to see her smile. Always to remind her that fairy tales could happen, even to broke single mothers who'd only wanted to be kind, especially to them. 6 months later, Thandi stood in Junseo's penthouse apartment, the one they now shared, watching the sunrise paint the city in shades of gold. Behind her, she heard the sound of Zoe's laughter mixing with Junseo's deeper voice. He was teaching her Korean again, patient and gentle as always with her daughter. Their daughter, really. He'd made that clear 3 months ago when he asked Zoe's permission to formally adopt her. The paperwork was still processing, but in every way that mattered, Junseo was already her father. Thandi's phone buzzed. A message from Layla. Did he ask yet? She smiled. Her friend had been insufferable since Junseo had let it slip that he was ring shopping. But he was taking his time, making sure Zoe was comfortable, making sure Thandi was ready, making sure he'd earned them both. Mommy, Zoe called. Come see what Appa taught me. The Korean word for father came naturally now, Junseo's heritage blending with their little family. Thandi turned from the window to find Junseo watching her with that expression, the one that said she was his entire world. I love you, she said. Not for the first time, but it never got old. I love you too. He crossed to her, pulled her close. Both of you. Forever. Forever's a long time. Not nearly long enough. And as Zoe ran to join them, wrapping her small arms around both adults, Thandi thought about the day she'd paid for a stranger's coffee, how that simple act of kindness had changed everything. Some people might call it fate, destiny. Thandi called it grace. The kind of grace that took a broke single mother and a Korean Mafia boss and turned them into a family. The kind that proved love could bloom anywhere, even between darkness and light, even across impossible divides. The kind that reminded her every single day that the best things in life often began with the smallest acts of kindness. $4.50, best investment she'd ever made.